Witches? The word conjures images of bubbling cauldrons, whispered spells, and figures flying through the night sky. But witches are more than just the villains of fairy tales. They've been scapegoats in times of fear, icons of rebellion, and symbols of empowerment. Today, we'll uncover their stories, tales of survival, suspicion, and the enduring magic that continues to captivate us. Our fascination with witches is ancient, rooted in folklore and mythology. Long before the Salem witch trials, witches were both feared and revered. In ancient cultures, witches weren't just seen as villains, they were healers, midwives, and wise women. In Greek mythology, Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, was a guide through the mysteries of life and death. Then there was Circe, a powerful sorceress who turned men into animals in Homer's Odyssey. In these tales, witches held the power to heal, curse, and transcend the mortal world. But as Christianity spread across Europe, the image of the witch began to change. No longer wise women, witches were painted as agents of the devil. The church linked witchcraft to heresy, and what followed was centuries of persecution. Our story turns now to Salem, Massachusetts, 1692. What began as strange fits and convulsions in two young girls would lead to one of the most infamous witch hunts in history. When Betty Paris and Abigail Williams began screaming and contorting their bodies in unnatural ways, panic swept through Salem. The girls claimed they were cursed by witches, and soon other children began exhibiting the same strange behavior. The Puritan townsfolk, already fearful of the devil's influence, searched for someone to blame. Accusations spread like wildfire. Sarah Good, a homeless woman, Sarah Osborne, who had challenged societal norms, and Tituba, an enslaved woman from the Caribbean, were among the first to be accused. They were interrogated for hours, often under duress. Tituba, perhaps out of desperation, confessed to witchcraft, weaving tales of dark rituals and encounters with the devil. By the end of the trials, over 200 people were accused, 19 were hanged, and one man, Giles Corey, was pressed to death with heavy stones for refusing to plead. The Salem witch trials remain a chilling reminder of what fear and mass hysteria can do to a community. But Salem wasn't the only place where women were accused of witchcraft. Nearly 200 years earlier, Joan of Arc, a peasant girl turned war hero, faced similar accusations. Joan claimed she heard voices from saints urging her to lead France to victory in its war against England. She defied gender roles, dressed in men's clothing, and led troops into battle. Her successes were extraordinary, but her enemies saw her as a threat. Captured by the English, Joan was put on trial for heresy and witchcraft. Joan was accused of being a witch, of consorting with demons, and was ultimately condemned to death. She was burned at the stake at the age of 19. Centuries later, she was canonized as a saint. But her story shows how accusations of witchcraft were often used to silence women who stepped out of line. In England, another infamous witch hunt unfolded in 1612. The Pendle witches became a symbol of fear and superstition in the early modern era. These were not women of wealth or influence. Most were poor, like Elizabeth Southerns, known as Old Demdike, a cunning woman who practiced folk healing. Her granddaughter, Alison Device, was accused of cursing a traveling peddler who later fell ill. The trial led to the execution of 10 people. The Pendle witches were some of the first victims of England's increasingly strict witchcraft laws. Their story reminds us of how the fear of witches was often used as a tool to marginalize the powerless. Today, witchcraft has transformed from a feared practice to a celebrated spiritual path. No longer accused of summoning the devil, modern witches embrace their craft as a connection to nature, empowerment, and personal growth. The rise of Wicca in the mid-20th century was led by Gerald Gardner, who popularized modern witchcraft as a religion. Wiccans celebrate rituals, honor nature, and practice magic as a form of self-discovery. Today's witches, like Laurie Cabot, the official Witch of Salem, have helped normalize witchcraft. They've redefined what it means to be a witch, transforming the narrative from one of fear to one of empowerment. In pop culture, witches have cast their spell like never before. From the villainous Wicked Witch of the West to the charming witches of Sabrina and Harry Potter, they've evolved into icons of magic, rebellion, and strength. These stories remind us of the enduring power of the witch, whether as a symbol of fear or a figure of inspiration. So, who were the witches? Villains, victims, or visionaries? Their stories are as diverse as the people accused. But one thing is clear: the legacy of witches isn't just a tale of magic and mystery. It's a reminder of humanity's capacity for fear, imagination, and resilience. And though the witch has changed throughout history, her story continues to enchant us, proving that magic, in some form, will always endure. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.